right, everybody. So this is the third attempt at this video. My phone keeps acting up. So this is a video on the mag drill, or the magnetic drill, that I purchased from Vavor. I just wanted to show you guys the results so far. So far I've been pretty impressed, because one of the things that I felt like I made a mistake on when I bought this thing was that I bought the single speed version of it. And I definitely feel like I should have got the multi-speed, because, you know, it's spinning the bits at the same speed. And if you're going with like thicker metal or a bigger bit, you know, the way it works with a normal drill press is that you're going to decrease the speed, you know, based on the size and everything. So that's the only thing about this I don't like so far. There's a couple little nuance things I'll talk about, but yeah, you can see the result so far. These are anchor plates that I will be installing the columns to. So if you remember, the way I'm doing this is I'm actually welding my base plate / columns, steel columns with base plates already welded to them, will be welded directly on top of these anchor plates once these are in place inside the concrete. Now, to a person just looking on now, you have to go back and watch my earlier videos, but I'm doing this because I'm a one-man show out here. I'm doing this by myself, and I didn't want to have to deal with trying to lift these 14-foot, you know, quarter-inch thick steel columns, and trying to set them on top of these anchor bolts, you know, and fit them that way. Usually that's a multi-person job to do. And so I just didn't want to deal with that. And so I said, you know, I'm just going to do it this way. And also the reason I put the plate on the bottom of the columns instead of just saying put the column on top and then weld it on is because I want to have a little bit of a solid base for it when I'm, you know, tacking it on there, so it has, you know, a little bit of stability to it, so I'm not trying to balance the thing while I'm welding it. And that's part of the DIY problem, you know, when you're out here by yourself. Now, you know, of course that takes more time. However, it also saves me a lot of money in hiring help. So I do the math. I said, well, it takes me this long. However, it's going to save me, you know, however many $1,000 it's going to save me. So it was a pretty easy equation for me to figure out once I do the math on it. So that being said, that's what these are. So once I'm done with all this, I'll clean these up. I'm going to wash them off real good. And then I'm going to put a galvanized coating on the bottom of these. I bought some Galv paint. It's not really paint, it's a coating, but it's a Galv coating. This stuff is like super heavy too. It's like a quarter of this stuff weighs like 6 pounds. It's almost solid metal, but in a liquid form. So what I'll do here on the backs of these is, since these are going to have direct contact with the concrete, I'm going to coat a coating on the back of these plates before they sit on the concrete, once I do that pour, and just give it a little extra. And then once I weld the base plates on top of these, you know, the columns, I'll probably do the same thing if I have enough. We'll see. But the main thing was getting the bottom of these coated. Of course, these 3/4 inch anchor bolts are 12 inches long, already are hot Galv dipped. But they said the cold Galv coating is just as good. So we'll see. But I mean, I'm never really going to know, to be honest, because they're going to be, I'm never going to see them. But it's little things like this that you do that, you know, yeah, I don't have to do this stuff at all. And honestly, I probably wouldn't know the difference even 15, 20 years from now. Who knows? But for me, it's just something that, you know, I try to do the steps that are proper in order for this to last a long time. And then if I ever down the road decide to sell this place, you know, it's like, hey, I took all these extra steps, I did these things right, and yeah, I even have video proof of it. So, you know, but that's not why I make the videos, but it's there nonetheless. So anyways, yeah, so that's what'll happen here, and these are going to get cleaned up and all spiffy looking, and so I'll take you over to the drill here. Okay, so initially I was going to just use normal drill bits here and then just drill the holes in that way, you know, and I could have done it that way. It'd been just as easy. But there's a couple uses for this aside from just these base plates or these anchor plates that I'm going to eventually be using this thing for, that involve welding and fabrication. And what's really cool about this is that if you want to set it horizontal or even upside down, and you needed to say, for example, I wanted to drill a hole in the bottom of this, right? Well, this has a magnet on it. It's a pretty strong magnet too. And it's an electric magnet, an electromagnet, and you click the switch and it locks it in place. So if you needed to drill holes in things like columns, if they're upright, and I wanted to drill a hole in a column, well, I can do that. So it's a very useful tool. Now, this is a very cheap version of this tool, obviously. They make, you know, just like every tool, they make super expensive versions. And, you know, I just said, you know, I don't really need an expensive version of this. I've never needed one before, but I figured it would make this move along a little faster. And, you know, some of the uses I'm going to have for it with the house build here, you'll see. But the bits on these things are very interesting. They're, forget the name of them. I'll pop them up. So there's the bit right there, okay? And this is obviously, it's just a boring bit. And they're very heavy, very sharp. And then there's a little pilot guide that goes in the middle of this thing. And then what happens is you slide this little thing in here, like you slide it through the top here, and then you just use an Allen wrench. This comes with an Allen wrench, and you take the Allen wrench, there's two sides here, and you tighten this bit down and you can pull it out. And then this pilot here, it's spring loaded. So what it does is when that springs, it actually is attached to a lubricant. Now, it doesn't come with lubricant. You got to put your own in here. And I just use oil. Probably not the best thing to use with this, but it's better than nothing. So I do use oil in here. And, you know, you can use whatever lubricant you want. But you can also set the amount of lubricant that comes out of this thing. I don't know how useful this really is. I just open it all the way up, and it does what it needed to do. And so, yeah, when this spring gets pressed, it opens up the flow here of the lubricant, and then it lubricates what you're, you know, boring a hole in, which is obviously crucial for this type of thing. When you're drilling holes in metal, it's not the same as wood, and you definitely need to make sure that you have that lubricated, or you will burn your bits out in no time. Now, speaking of burning bits out, so far I'm on the same bit. This was my biggest fear because I don't have a backup bit for this thing, and the next thing I'd have to do is go up one, and then I would have to figure out a way to tack it in, the bolt in there, so it doesn't move around when I pour the concrete. So I really don't want to have to deal with that, or I might have to go to the old trusty drill press here and just use the normal bits. But so far so good, folks. You know, like I said, the magnet's very strong. Here, I'll show you. So it clicks on. One thing I will say is you got to remember to not leave this thing on, because it gets hot, actually, after a while. If you leave this thing on, I've left it on a couple times on accident. I've come out, and this thing is very hot to the touch down here. This is where the magnets are. So right now, you can see that it moves around, and now, at least it was. That's interesting. Huh. Well, would you look at that? Maybe my power's off. Hold on. Okay, so it turns out I have a cord here that's a little wonky. It does this on my jackhammer too, so it's the actual cord. But so now it's on, okay? Now I've got this running off my solar setup right now, so there you go. You can see I have this on my truck tailgate here, which my tailgates just come off manually because it's an older truck. But yeah, this is a very strong magnet. You're not moving this thing. I'm pulling on this thing full force. So when that magnet's on, this drill does not move. So it's really cool for that. I like that. Now you just now this won't turn on either without the magnet on. So there you go, it's on. Once you turn the magnet off, though, it's not going to work. Okay. Now the only real issue I've had so far is that when you don't, the actual plunge here, when you release this, I had to put a clamp on it because this is what happens. It just falls. So I don't know if there's something I'm missing here. Maybe I need to tighten it down or something. I don't know. I'm going to look into the instructions later maybe. I don't think so though. I think it's just the way it's built. But so what I do is I just put a clamp on it like this. I just found a clamp that I clamp up. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. It's always fun. So yeah, I do the clamp method. just clamp it in place. So that works for me. You know, I'm not really going to complain because the price I paid for this thing, and frankly, after doing all these holes, if it makes it through with a single bit, it will have paid for itself as far as I'm concerned. So now I'll have a tool out of it that I can actually use for other things too. So that's what's cool about it. Now, I have no idea, since this is single speed, how long these bits are going to last. But, you know, because it spins very fast and it smokes a lot. Some of it's because of the oil I'm using. But, you know, it does smoke a lot. And that's a little concerning with the bits. But, you know, I don't really know, to be truthful with you. I'm just going to use it and tell you guys how it goes. You know, if I make it through 48 holes with this thing, you know, a lot of times that lasts longer than some of my drill bits do at that size, you know. So, you know, so far, like I said, so good. But that's my report on the Vavor. And their Vavor, tough tools, half price. That's their motto. So there you go, Vavor. Free plug for you. Not getting paid for any of this. But, and I'm not trying to. I make these videos just to show people what's up. And if I have something that I like, I'll make a video. If I have something I don't like, I'll make a video. You know that if you've watched my videos before. I've had some crappy tools that I've made videos on too that were very disappointing. One of which was my Wen generator. I can't stand that thing, but it still runs. It just falls apart. So anyways, I'm going to get back to work. Over and out.